All right, so last session in homeostasis, we looked at regulation of the body's temperature. Today, what we're going to look at is regulation of blood glucose levels. Now, this is really important. There's a disease that's quite prevalent called diabetes, and it's all to do with how much glucose is in your blood and regulating it. From last week, when we looked at the definition homeostasis, it literally means keeping everything the same. So what your body needs to do is keep the amount of blood glucose, or the glucose in your blood, I should say, the same. Now, the way it does it, all right, is with all this work here, I'm going to start off with something that's in my head. What do I think about? Well, I think about a glucose as a small molecule that tastes nice and sweet. Plants, I'm not talking about humans, plants store glucose as starch. Okay, we find it in rice, potatoes, all the kind of thing. We're not plants, we're animals. So what do we store it as? Well, we store it as a similar molecule, but it's called glycogen. So what I'm going to do is rub out starch because, well, we're not plants. All right. And what I want to think about is if there's too much glucose, your body goes, well, hold on, I've got too much. And it will convert it to glycogen so it can be stored. If you don't have enough glucose in your blood, your body can go, well, hold on, I need more glucose so it can break down glycogen to glucose. You know what? And I've had a wicked idea. Glucose to glycogen. What would be really nice glycogen is if you had an image of this and kind of a, not a complicated image, but a really kind of nice one. All right. And I want something really rather simple, and there isn't really one that I'm going to I use at the start, and we'll have to live with it. But the way that I look at it is glycogen is a big molecule. Glucose, if you remember, is a hexagon shape, although that looks more like a pentagon than a hexagon. I drew it wrong. So this is glucose. We did it when we looked at plants. Now, glucose strung together, you make a long string of glucose, and that is in plants glycogen, in animals, in plants starch. Can't draw and talk at the same time. In plants it's starch, and in animals this long string of glucose is glycogen. So what your body is doing is going, right, I've got too much glucose in my blood, I'm going to string it all together and make glycogen. If there isn't enough glucose in your blood, your body will break this down. All right, now, so what controls whether it's broken down or built up are hormones. Now, the way that I think it's really important you understand is there are two types of messages in your body. One's your nervous system that we looked at, that is fast and exceptionally quick. The other is chemical. Chemical messages are hormones, and they're made by glands in the body. They travel by blood. Because they travel by blood, they're far slower than a nervous impulse, but they last longer. There's a word, it's the endocrine system. And that's the whole system within your body that sends messages. Now, insulin, and some of you may have heard of insulin, is made by an organ called the pancreas. Okay? And that is found, pancreas. The pancreas is found inside you, near your liver. Okay? Or someone just dinged on to join. So insulin is made by your pancreas. Your pancreas is found next to your liver. And here's an image. Okay? Now, let me just make it small because it's far too big. Let's just put it over here. So this is your pancreas. All right, and you find it right here. And the pancreas makes insulin. It's a really cool part, cells in your, called the islets of Langerhans, which I think is a lovely name, that make the actual insulin. So what happens, all right, if you've just had something to eat, your body has lots of glucose, and your insulin lowers the amount of glucose. In other words, when you release insulin, glucose is converted to glycogen, all right, and it's stored. So your body goes, hold on, too much sugar in the blood, too much glucose in the blood. Glucose type of sugar, if you remember. And if you don't, I've just said it, so hopefully, that clarifies that. So glucose, too much sugar in your blood. Let's change it to glycogen. The other hormone that does the opposite is called glucagon. And glucagon goes, hold on, there's not enough glucose, so it changes glycogen to glucose. All right. Now, from last time, this is negative feedback. So if your blood glucose is too high, insulin brings it down. If your blood glucose is too low, glucagon raises it. And that was negative feedback. All right. And if you look at my arrows, they're doing the opposite thing. All right. So type 1 diabetes. There are two types of diabetes. Type 1 is a genetic disorder, and it can start when you're young. Your pancreas does not make insulin. All right. And insulin lowers the amount of glucose in your blood. So the amount of glucose stays high. All right. And the treatment is insulin injections. All right. Now, type 2 diabetes. Here the pancreas makes insulin, but the cells on your liver don't respond. All right. This is lifestyle affects it a lot. So nowadays, if obesity is a massive issue in children, a lot of children just do not get the right type of exercise, which is, run till you're tired, those kind of things. So obesity, being overweight, low activity, and a very poor diet. Okay. It is generally more common in adults, but nowadays, as I said, it's getting more and more prevalent in younger children. The treatment is just eat properly and exercise. All right, so you've got 10 easy questions as per usual, 10 medium and 10 hard. I have been talking for 7 minutes and 30 seconds. That's a bit long for you young ones. So what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to stop recording that.